Our lesson today is entitled The Sampling Distribution, and our memory verse is found in Numbers 1, verse 2. It says, "Take a census of the whole Israelite community by their clans and families, listing every man by name, one by one." At the end of this lesson, we'll be able to illustrate random sampling, distinguish between a parameter and a statistic, and identify sampling distributions of statistics or sample mean. I think you've heard of the word census. For example, when I was a kid, people from the DSWD will go from one house to another and they will say, "Ma'am, census." It means they'll be listing all the names of the family members, the age, and the occupation. Every year, we have been visited by the DSWD people for a census. They say it's a population census. Now, where and in what ways can we use the sampling distribution? Here's a venture activity. Like, for example, if you're going to make an ice cream party, to have an ice cream party, how will you determine what flavor of the ice cream are you going to serve? So if you'll be inviting 30 people, you could make a survey on their favorite ice cream flavor and make a list of their answers. It can be through an interview, an online survey, or a phone survey through a call or a text to determine what's the favorite ice cream flavor of your invitees of the people. Now, let's have two big words today. First is population, and second is the sample. If you say population, this is a complete collection or a list of all elements to be studied. While if you say sample, this is only a sub collection or a part of the whole population. For example, I'm going to conduct a study to make a research among MVCA students. The population will be all MVCA students, while a sample, a part of the population, can be the grade 11 class alone. Or another, I'm going to make a research on how online learning affected students in the Philippines. So all students in the Philippines will be my respondents. But if I'll just choose a sample, possibly I'll just take schools in Region 10. So that is a sample. So again, the population is the entire collection of all the elements, while the sample is only a part of the population. Now, let's have the parameter and the statistic. For example, if I'm going to take the data from the population from all online students in the Philippines, that data that I have taken is called the parameter. While if I'll just have the sample like all students in region 10, the data that I'll be taking from the sample or from these students in region 10 is called statistic. So again, parameter is the data taken in a population, while statistic is a data taken only from a sample. You might ask, why is it impossible to take a data from the population? First, it's not cost effective. You imagine if you will conduct a data among all Filipino students in the Philippines, then that would cost you much rather than taking it only from students in region 10. Another, time. It's not time efficient. If you will be taking data For the whole Philippines, it will take you months or years. But just taking it from a sample, it will be time efficient. Now, we have um, the main question is, how do you take a sample from a population? Now, this morning, let's learn on some sampling techniques. There are two kinds. We have probability sampling, and the other is the non-probability sampling. If you say probability sampling techniques, each member in the population has an equal chance, or we say there's no bias, so anyone can be a part of the sample. How do we do it? These are some types. First, simple random sampling, or we say this is the lottery method or the bunot-bunot. Now, how do we do this simple random sampling? Um, for example, traditional way, we write all the names, place them all in a box or in a jar, then you just pick. I want 10, so I'll pick 10. Or another, there is the modern way you do it this time. I think you've heard of the digital roulette, like your cell phone, or like how do people with giveaway raffles do it? Like, uh, for example, you pick a number using your phone, then you just click it, it will generate a number. So this is a simple random sampling. Any lottery method, any types of bunot-bunot and roulette, this is a simple random sampling. In the systematic sampling, we pick the members systematically. For example, we have what we call the magic number, they say. For example, you set your number. I'll choose the 10th member or the 5th member in the population. Now we have all the least in the population, like a class record. Then every fifth, like 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. Okay, person A. 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth again, person Z. 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth person again, until you'll reach your sample size. Next is the stratified random sampling. The stratified and the cluster are very much similar. What's the difference? Let me share my whiteboard. In the stratified random sampling, we have what we call groups, or we call these groups strata. Now, for example, in the stratified, like we have group A, group B, group C, and group D. Now we will get, for example, I'll say we'll get a sample size of 40. So there are two possible ways. You get 10 here, 10, 10, and 10. But each group has a representative. So again, that's how you do it in stratified. It can be, we have what we call proportional allocation, or we also have what we call disproportional allocation. How do we do this? If you say proportional allocation, the sample size or the number of members in each group to be taken will depend on the size of the group. For example, if originally Group A has 30 members, Group B has 20, Group C has 20, Group D has 30. So if you want to take how many samples are taken from Group A, we'll first determine the percentage of the membership of Group A in the total population. So you have 30 divided by how many? There are 100 of them, right? So group A comprised of 30%. So what do? We multiply the 30%. We multiply 30% from our, oops, this is not working again. So what do? We multiply group A, that's Baba, is 30%. So we multiply the 30% to our sample size. So the 30% of 40 is 12. It means that we'll take 12 members from group A. Another, group D also has, oh, my pen, where's my pen? Group D also has 30, right? So the 30% of 40 is still 12, so we take 12. Group B has 20, so it means 20%, because it's over 100. 20% of 40, we have 8. So we just take 8. That is how proportional allocation works. So what will happen? Ang gamay lang ang grupo, gamay ra pagkuhaon. Ang daghang grupo, daghang members sa group, daghang pagkuhaon. But if you say disproportional allocation, then we just do it like the first one. Take 10 from group A, 10 from group B, 10 from group C, 10 from group D. The other type is what we call the cluster. In the cluster random sampling, it's different. Like for example, we do it by cluster. We have groups A, B, C, and D. Remember, we need to take 40 members, 40 samples. First, you could do the lottery method. You bunot, then upon picking up, upon drawing lots, you just have groups A and C. So you just take the sample from groups A and C, or you want to draw lots again, then you'll just narrow it to A, group A. So we take the 40 samples from group A. So in cluster random sampling, not all groups will be represented. One or two will do. Another example, let's do a nationwide research on how many would like to have the COVID-19 vaccine. So how will you do it? We can do stratified. How do you do stratified? Like we pick 100 people to survey from NCR down to region 12, down to the ARMM. So we pick 100 per region. That's how you do stratified. But if we do cluster random sampling, the other one, then you just pick regions. Like you pick, oh, we take survey from region 10. Next, we take survey from NCR. Next, we make a survey in region 5. So we just draw the regions. Not all will be represented. So these are the types of probability random sampling. But we have also what we call the non-probability sampling techniques. This is usually used in your practical research one, in qualitative research. In non-probability sampling techniques, not all will have a chance to be picked. Not everybody gets the chance to be a sample. There is a criteria being set. For example, the first one is purposive sampling. In purposive sampling, we select the sample based on the criteria or purpose of the study. For example, you want to interview international students. So what's your criterion? Being an international student or a foreigner. So that will be the basis of your sample selection. Or another, we have a study before. It's the lived experience of transcendental household students, or we say these are students with labor migrant parents. Let's simplify it. These are MVCA students whose parents are OFWs. So what's the criterion? Your parent, it could be one or both, should be a labor migrant or an OFW. Or there's also another study conducted by the School of Education of MVC. The title is Becky Ako, Anong Say Mo? See, there is a criterion based on their study. That's the Becky Ako. So only they say male gaze because there are female gaze, as they say. Only male gaze are included. So that is the probability, the purposive sampling. Another type of non-prob sampling is the convenience sampling. Based on the word convenience, all samples are chosen because of their availability. For example, you want to ask people what's their favorite shampoo. So you go out, you stand outside the store, and you just ask first 100 people what's their favorite shampoo. Or you want to ask people of their favorite ice cream flavor. You're making an online poll in Facebook. That is a convenience sampling. The last one is the snowball sampling. You know how a snowball works, right? It starts from a small one, then it rolls and it rolls and it gets bigger and bigger. Now, in a snowball sampling, we do referral sampling. Like we start small first. For example, these are used for sensitive issues like um, I want to make an interview on the lived experience of drug addicts. I could not just go and say, okay, who among here are drug addicts? Kindly raise your hand. You are not allowed to do that, right? Or another sensitive issue. Um, what's the lived experience of women who are sexually abused? You could not go to the barangay hall and announce, okay, sexually abused women, line up. No, you can't do that one. So we do a snowball sampling. How to do it? You identify one person first. So for example, I know this person is a drug addict. So I'll go and start interviewing. And as I'll end my interview, I can ask, sir, I want to have more of you, more data like this. So can you refer me to somebody who is also a drug addict? Or can you name someone who is also experiencing drug addiction? So the person will say, neighbor blah, blah, blah is also a drug addict. So I'll go and do the interview again. And before the interview ends, I'll ask, sir, can you refer me to somebody who is also a drug addict? So I'll be referred again until my sample size will be attained. So that's how you do snowball sampling. Again, purposive sampling, there is a criterion. Convenience sampling, whoever is available. Snowball sampling, we do referrals.